All right. So this module, this tutorial is like a one-on-one tutorial. So you can also provide ask me questions. All right. So before I started this recording, I have a small. Let me recap what I'm doing here. What we're trying to teach right now is Odoo module or application development. So the first thing we are going to do is, of course, knowing how Odoo looks like, the front view of Odoo. All right. So this is the front view. I'll be using sales module as an example. So what I'm trying to do now is to show how to develop a module that looks like this sales module. Coming here, I have to save this record. So this is Odoo module. If you're using enterprise version, this is how the modules comes. So whichever module you want to open, but I suggest you open the sales, right? So when you open this sales, you can see the components of sales, right? So here, as a developer, you should know the various views of a particular module. What is view? This particular one is called tree view. This first one or list view. So this list view, you can use it to now get do some kind of operations. For example, I can select numerous records and then decide what I will use to do with them. So for example, if I select this and then select this, I can decide to print two of them. I can decide to delete using this action or export, delete, create invoice. So whatever I do, click on here is going to determine print or maybe run any function of these two records. So list view is normally used to show you different types of records. You get now when you click on one of the record, it's no longer going to be list view, right? Check this, click on one of the record. It's no longer going to be list view. This is going to be what they call form view. You get so you can recap, you can go over to my recording and then understand the whole thing later on. So this list view in Odoo, from Odoo version 7 down to current version 16, you should be able to see this edit button, create button, and then depending on the module that you log into, you'll be able to see another header. So what we call here is header, right? This header, you can see the functionalities of what the module has or the features of that module. So this is more like what we call method in Python. You get, and then each module has their different types of buttons or methods. So here, what we call here is workflow. So for example, what we call workflow is the order of operation of this module. Now, for example, if I confirm this button, tendency is that when I confirm this button, it moves from quotation to quotation send or to sales order. You get, so the more you are clicking, the more you are moving from one workflow to the other. So that's why we call it workflow. The next one is what we call fields. So this is a sheet where you have your fields, right? So here, depending on what you develop, we are going to see more of this when we start developing. So here you see your fields. So depending on what you want to customize, you can define your numerous fields. So this is what we call in object-oriented programming. This is what we call attributes or properties of a class. Properties of a class. So each of these class in Python, for example, has an attribute. What do I mean by attributes? So take for example, when I click on create, you can see these ones are highlighted on black. They are required fields. So these attributes of the attributes of this field called customer are is required. The required is true. Then there is also another attribute called read only. So read only fields you cannot be able to modify it. You get, so the name itself depicts what it does. There is also what we call size. All right. So let me pause this video. So welcome back. What I was trying to show, I was introducing you guys to the fields. So back to this, each and every of these fields has an attribute and then the type of field, or you can call it the type data type, right? So what do I mean by the data type? Take for instance, in Python language, we have string, we have we have integer, we have date, we have boolean field, and then a whole lot of data type. All right. So, but in Odoo, there are three basic or major. There are three major data types that you might not have had. Odoo is a framework, and then they are kind of like using this relational data type. And what do I mean by this relational data type? They are different from what you know about Python data type. Are you listening to me? Right. So, coming here, I was trying to introduce this by just laying out what this is. There is a many to one data type or field type. There is a one to many field type, and then there is a many to many field type. Now, going back to the system, to the application, many to one is a relation. So if you look at this, if you want to actually get to this or to see what you are seeing right now, you have to go into the debug mode of Odoo. So how do you go into the debug mode? You come here, right? Just after the web, you put question mark, type debug equal to, and then put equal to mark, sign, and then one. Then you hit enter. So the system is going to refresh and then get you back to this. All right. So this is how to get into debug mode, and then you'll be able to see all the background information of each and every functionality you are seeing. So when you hover over any field, you'll be able to see the informations. So from there, for example, I want to know the type of that field this customer is. You can see the field. The technical name is partner ID, partner underscore ID. So this is how you structured it in the system. So the next one is object. So this object is the class or the database model, right? That every record that you are creating or every record, this record that you're trying to create now will now be stored. Hmm? So a database, of course, we know what is a database. So whatever record I create now is going to be saving inside this particular object that I'm working on. Hmm? So then we have the type of this field. So take note of this type of field called many to one. This many to one field, hmm? This many to one field means that inside this customer, I want to select different types of fields. And then I want to select different types of records, but I'm only limited to one record. So I come here to select this. So this is an example of many to one. And then coming down, we have another field called one to many. This is a field type. So what we normally use this field type, the name of the field is called order line, and the type is one to many. And also there is a relation for every relational data type. There must be a relation to class. Do you understand? There must be a relation to class. So which class are you trying to refer? So that is you defining the type of class you want to refer. So in this case, you can see that I'm currently in the class called sales.order, and then the relation, look at the last item that is displayed here. The relation is called sale.order.line. That is another database model. So whatever record you are creating under this, you are storing it inside a model called sales.order.line, because you're actually trying to, but there must be a relationship of this current class called sales order and the second class called sales.order.line. There must be a one to one, a kind of like a relationship. I don't want to go too technical. Then take for instance the many to one field is only referencing to, right, a particular class called res.partner. Can you see the relation? right? So relation to this is rest of partner. So there is also many attributes of this field. You can see the first one, which is the field name, the second one, which object it belongs to, the third one, which the type of the field, whether it's required. You can see domain, whether it has a domain. So what is domain? Domain is used to tell the system or the application, whenever the user selects this field, which record am I going to see here? So the domain here will restrict the record that will be displayed to you to whatever that you set on that domain. You can see I said, show me all records that the company ID is equal to false. That is what is actually happening here. Or the company ID is equal to company ID. So basically, there is a company ID field that is hidden inside behind this particular sales order that we are seeing. There is a company ID field hidden. They use it to dynamically do one or two things. So this company ID that was hidden was used to now determine the current company that the user is logged in. So the user will now say, so I'm trying to see all the record that the company ID is false. So meaning that there is nothing in the company ID or anyone that has a company ID. So you should display it for me. So I can say, so use domain to say all the records that are active. So instead of showing me thousands of records, the system will just restrict it to just three. That if, for example, I have 10 records and then three were active and seven were inactive, so I'll only see those three records that are active. So that's the kind of domain I'll do. So how do I do a domain? Let me just quickly show you how to write a domain. So this is a way to write a domain, in Odoo. And I'll say, for example, if I have a field inside that class called active, right? And then I'll now say active is equal to true or whatever identification I want to do. Active is equal to true, right? Or I'll now say or. This is how to put an or in Odoo. Or I'll now say or if I want to define another thing. So I'll now say or. Maybe for example, I have another field called name. And I say or name is equal to, but you can't actually use name. I'm just giving using this as an example because you might say or name is equal to Gabriel. So if you have 10 records that is inside this class, so and then two records contains name. There's a field called name, and then there are two record contains Gabriel. System is going to get me the records that are either active or that is Gabriel. That has a name Gabriel. So there I can also remove this or and make it look like this. So what I'm trying to say is and operator. And do you get? So I'm trying to say get me the records that are active and also the name must be Gabriel. So if I have 10 records, for me to meet this condition while fetching this record, I must meet this condition. Records that are, for example, I should discard this and then go to the next one. So you see these two records. So take for instance, I have two records here. And then I have the name of this customer must be Gabriel and then must be active. So if these two records are Gabriel, right? The system will fetch these two records for me. If only one of them is Gabriel, the system will. This is just more like a conditional operation. So that is how to run a domain. Now, the next thing for us to say is, okay, many to one, many to many. Sorry, many to many is more or less. Can I say many to many is like many to one? But the difference is that you are not this restricted. With many to one, you just select only one record. But with many to many, let's say create many to many. Let me use one where I can find a many to many record. So take for instance, I create on this, and then I'll to come here to find a minute to minute. So this is a minute to minute. Did you see the field type? Many to many type. You get? So here there are many records inside the system. I can keep adding more, right? I can keep creating more that, right? I can keep creating more. So I have just few records. So you can see this field can contain many records. So that's why I said many then to many. Like you are actually getting many records and you can able to select many records. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? So maybe the next thing is for us to look at the next field type, which is one to many. So with time, you get to understand this field type when you actually try to implement real-time applications. So with this is how to. I'm not going to go into full details of how to create what this many one to many is. They are not actually Python. If you're coming from a Python level, they are not actually Python data type. This is just Odoo framework data type. A kind of like if you are good with HTML, there are this type of multi-select, right? So in HTML, we call it multi-select, or if you're other framework, we call it multi-select. So, but in Odoo, is a relational data field that you can actually use to get another table, records in another table. Take for example, you have a room, and then you really want to get properties of things that are inside that room. So you can actually define your own field and then use kind of like a dot notation to go into that room and get the records based on your condition. So this is what actually a one to many depicts. So most times you can see a many to many like this, or you can see a one to many like this. So two of them are similar somehow in terms of the way they appear in view. So, but where how do you know a many to a one to many? If you click on this, you now start seeing each columns of that particular table. You can see cell order line. These are the properties of fields that are in that particular model called sales.order line. So here you can select each field. So each inside this table, you can see there are other fields defined on that table. So now we are going to go into this whole thing in our real-time application. So let's do one or two things, and then I will have to clear this and then show us how we develop real Odoo application. So first thing first, let me not waste more of our time. I would like to create a table structure, but I want you guys to follow me one after the other. So there are ways you can create Odoo file structures using what they call scaffolding, right? I'm not going into that detail because I assume that this training or this tutorial is going to be like a gradual, anybody can pick it up. That's why I'm not going into technical details of how to create module structure or file structure using those methods. You can, as time goes on, you can get to browse about that. So, but here I'll just create a simple file structure. So I have my add-on paths. Of course, I have one little add-on pass. So how do I get to see my add-on pass? So by default, if you install Odoo, I'm using Windows currently, but if you install Odoo on Windows, ensure that you define your add-on pass. So your add-on pass is if you go to where your Odoo resides inside server, go to your odoo.config. This is where your add-on path reside. You define your add-on paths. I'm using enterprise, and then I'm using, so I have three add-ons. So whatever module I'm creating, it either I put it inside this particular directory called this, or I put it inside this directory called add-on, or I put it inside enterprise. But add-ons of enterprise are just I don't advise you put it there except you're downloading or you're getting Odoo Enterprise module. So you put it inside the Enterprise add-on. So what do I mean by add-on? In a computer, every computer has its own file structure. So you see under documents, you see Billa, you see a whole lot of file structures. You can create more folders, right? You can create folders. Then in Odoo, there are, let me go into my file structure. So one of my file structure, I would like to go into add-ons, Odoo slash add-ons. So if I open my system, I'll go to where I have my Odoo app. So this is Odoo version 13. I'll go to one of my, so you normally find it inside Odoo. You normally find it inside Odoo and then find it inside add-ons. So you see all the normal default Odoo modules or applications. All right. So I'll have to pause this video to come back. Okay, so for now, trying to create the file structure. So going to create it inside add-ons. So my add-on part is Odoo slash add-ons. So this is where I'm going to create this. So let me also go back to my VS Code and then show you under Explorer. I'm going to create, okay, maybe I'm going to create it inside a module called, I'm going to create a new file, use this ones, close this ones. So let me structure under Odoo, under add-ons, and I'll create a new folder. So this is basically my new folder. So if you are creating a module in Odoo, right? These are my modules. Let me discard this. So take for instance, when I go to apps, under apps is where you can be able to find all those modules that you installed or that you downloaded and added to your add-ons part. Hmm? An add-on, an add-on is like a file container, a folder or a file that contains all your modules application. So anytime you have a new module, what you need to do is to come in here, update app list, and then you see that new module coming in here. All right. So which module are we trying to create? It's a very simple module. So in this module, I'm going to rename my folder to Odoo beginners. Odoo beginners tutorial. So this is the name of the module folder. Or name of the module. So anytime I click on this, I'm going to actually see this. Anytime I add it to my and then update, like everything is well, I'm going to see it under these apps, right? So you can use these functionalities to search the module. Now let's go back and then add more that key functionality. But before then, let's open one of the simple modules that we have, for example, fleet. So you see the structure that we have in Odoo. I'll walk you through by introducing you, and then we'll have to copy some of these structures and then add it to our own module. Yeah. So let me open this here. I really want you to follow me with this module organization or structure so that we can be able to understand what we're doing. So I was on fleet. So fleet is one of the modules that is in Odoo. So you can see the file system was organized, file structure was organized, and then let me walk you through. I'll copy this and then go to my add-ons, find my Odoo, and then paste all those data structures inside this. I'll start removing some things. I'll paste all those components inside this. Recall, I've never restarted my server, so no changes will be applicable. So here, the first folder is called data. So in case anytime you see a module and then you see data folder, This is just telling you that there are some records or demo data or working data. For example, you want whenever the system is being installed, hmm, you want some data, some records to be applicable. This is system generated record. You are the one that created it manually via code, and then you really want to make it come up whenever you install this module. We're not going to go into that detail right now. Now, this one is for internationalization. Different languages. You want your module to come. Anybody coming from China or whatever language, different language that is aside English, will be able to at least know. The system knows how to dynamically change the context depending on the localization of that particular user. So you don't really need it. I'll remove it for the meantime. So you can feel free to do a research about that. So these are the key components of. I also remove data. Take notes. So these are the things I needed here: models, security, static, then tests, hmm? then views. You get, and then these two files are necessary. Without these two files, you cannot see your modules here. Hmm? So now, this let me start with introducing you to the first one, which is called models. Models is where you define all these classes. All right. So depending on the type of classes you have, you can destructure your models or class. Whenever you hear me talk about model, I'm talking about object, I'm talking about class, I'm talking about database. You get, so that's what we call MVC architecture. Odoo uses model, views, and controller. So whenever you hear me talking about this, know that I'm talking about database. I'm talking about classes in Python. I'm talking about objects in normal OOP. All right. So for models, remember on my code base, I was trying to create something like this before now. Oh, I think I've deleted it. When I was trying to define my class, I'll show you later on. So inside my model, this is where I can define, maybe for example, I have three classes. One is um, school, the other one is classroom, the other one is teachers, right? So I can define my classes inside this model. So if you click on one of these model, you can see different types of models here. So all of them has their own file separately. This way you can be able to differentiate. Some people can create just one file and then add all those models, but technically it's not a good practice. You get, so what it means is that anybody coming into the system might not be able to know what you are working on. So you can see on this core Odoo module, I can be able to say, oh, the problem I'm trying to solve is from fleet vehicle model. I can be able to say that it's coming from fleet vehicle. So these are different classes, but they just put it in the separate files, right? So now, how do we start? I will start first by deleting all these and then leave one. Hmm? So let me delete what we don't need and then go back to the other one, security. Let me delete things we don't need. I'll change this to my own thing. Later on, you can feel free to look at other beginners training security. So this is the security file. I'll come to that, right? So this security file is where you define the roles. Users, if for example, I belong to a certain role and I want people that belongs to the certain role to really be able to see the class A, hmm, or some components of class A or some features. This is where we define it. So whenever you hear about security in the system, in an application, this is where you define it. So you now wanted users to have certain rights to a particular model. This is where you define them. All right. So I'll get back to that. Static. So this basically where you define your JavaScript, you put your image, your descriptions. You can see a whole lot of static folders and pictures. So and then you see these images. This is where you put them. All right. So, but now we are not dealing with JavaScript or whatever. So we are only dealing with description and then images. So tests. So there is a way. This is just for beginners tutorial. So you can feel free to go into and learn how to write tests in Odoo. All right. So for example, Odoo has their own library to test whatever code that you're implementing. So to make sure at least you have error-free application. So that is the test file. That's where every file about testing goes into. Then views. Concerning views, you see this interface, whatever interface you are seeing here. Let me use the cells that we're using before. This interface you are seeing here, this is where you define them in views. So it has its own code base, and this is the code base. So this is where it's being all the views will be added here. So you can see on the Python model, on the model, you can see the Python files.py, and then you can see the views.xml. So each class has its own view, except for the fact you don't want to create a view for them. And remember, at the beginning of this tutorial, I mentioned about list view and then form view, right? And then these are the basic views that at least you need to know. So I'll have to click and delete, then leave just one. So in my own case, I'm proposing to have just one view. For the beginners tutorial. Let's go view. So feel free to name your file according to your module, all right, or according to the class. Hmm? So in this case, I'll still have to rename these. Maybe I'll call this something like, because I have not actually known my classes. So for the night, I will just call this main.view. I'll come back to this. And then even on my models, I'll have to find a way to name my models. So depending on what I'm trying to create. So now my init.py, this is like your initialization. Of course, if you are we are I recommend that before you go start developing Odoo, you must do Python. So there are this is what like tells the system that these are the files in a simple understanding. These are the folders that contains Python file. So I need this, I'll add this particular folder inside this file. All right, I'll add, so this particular one is where that tells Odoo the name of your module, the descriptions, and whatsoever. So for example, if you come to apps, any module, if you define the name of your module in the system, in that particular manifest file, you should be able to see everything that you define like this, right? So that you see the website, category, summary, latest version, and then Odoo will do some of the rest, like telling you that it's installed and the rest. So, and then you put your dependencies. So sometimes modules depend on other modules, right? Or application depends on other modules or applications. So you now put the dependency. So take for example this one called project depends on analytic based module. For example, if it depends on this our current module, you now add it here and say Odoo beginners tutorial, right? And then the system will now depend. It will first of all install those dependencies, right? And then before it finally installs your new application. So it means that the dependencies are the major thing. It's depending on some features in that module before every other thing. So I've walked you through to the five structures that we have, and then these are the basic ones you need. So for the meantime, I'm going to remove tests until we are done with what we are trying to do right now. So let us create models. So now, what do we want to create? Take for instance, we're trying to create a simple school um, management system, right? What do we do? So because we are working on tutorial, we can then call it a tutorial management or maybe a school management system. So I'll have to come here, create a new file, save it, and then remember my add-ons, Sonda Odoo add-ons, and then Odoo beginners tutorial. Now I'll put it inside my models and then rename it as um, first one we're going to create is school.py. Put it inside my annals. I'll do again. Save it as classes class.py. Then save it, create another one. So what other attributes do we have? So before we do this, let's just be specific in what we're trying to do. So we know what we call algorithm. So before you start developing any application, you first of all find a way to define what you wanted, and then provide your own algorithm and so you can also use pseudocode. Pseudocode is like trying to depict what you are trying to create. Hmm? So if you go through computer science, you understand those terminologies. So this is more like saying this is how I want to structure my applications. You start writing them down. So we want to do that right now before we start creating some of those files so that we have a clear direction of where we're going. So first thing first, our Odoo tutorial, Odoo beginners tutorial. Hmm? So this is what we are trying to do. So now say, first thing, what do we need? We needed a school class where we can, so this school class contains the database model for storing schools. So we can have different schools, all right? Now we can have, so what are the attributes? We can have other class called okay, let's first define the properties of a school, right? Of school class. So we have the name, which is going to be a char field type. So whenever you're hearing about char, know that this is a string in Python, a string field type. So we have address of the school. We're not going to actually create a lot of properties, but address of the school is also a char field. Name, address, and then phone number of the school is also what? A char field. Of course, phone numbers can never be an integer because it's a number, but basically you can use char for it. Then we have email of the school. So we have char. So this char is more like saying a character. But this is the way Odoo recognizes a string data type. I'll come to that. Then we have another one called classes. So definitely, this is the convention you can use if you are doing getting more classes, right? Remember, I talked about many to one, right? Many to many and one to many. So because I'm trying to assign classes hmm, to this school class, because for each school there must be classes under it, right? So I'm going to use the field type called minutes many. I may decide to change this. So depending on what you want to do, all right? So I may decide to use one to many. Dates of creation, like maybe the day the school was originated, hmm? Or you can say date of licensing, whatever. So I'm just trying to tell you that there is a date data type, right? There is also a date time data type. Are you following me? Are you following me? So you can change the name. So you can't have two fields in one class. Just change the names. Otherwise, you are going to get this computer confused. Am I correct? So, so in database, the system knows how to structure these your fields in database. So first thing is to create the database table called school, and then create the keys. Do you get? So more like in dictionary where you have something like this. In Python, school is equal to, hmm? So it can be something like this. Each record will have name. So this is how the structure would look like. Name, depending on what you created. My school. So, comma, address, s, whatever. So you can see that all those data types I'm trying to put. Phone, still a child. Hmm? So this is the first record inside this school class. So it can be a list. So this is just the structure, of what I'm trying to generate. So these things are records. So it can be different things, when I start creating. So whatever that you are seeing right now is those things you learned during your Python this thing, where you know about lists. So list of objects. So a class is more like a list of objects. That is just the basic understanding. So anytime you are hearing about class, know that you are creating a kind of like a holder, a database holder that has list of records. So these things are the dictionary objects. You call dictionary is like an object, right? So list of objects that you can decide to manipulate. So I'll just leave this so that you can be able to understand what I'm doing. So you can add more fields to understand inside this each and every one of them. So whenever you create a class, the system is going to replicate all these things as fields. Hmm? So in database operation, they call it colon, database colon, table colons. So there is a table and then there is a colon, right, in database operation. So the table is the class and then all these ones are the column, the different columns of the table. So basically people call it fields. Hmm? So this is for database understanding. So I'm going into technical discussions, but here these are the basic things we need. So can you help me recall what we might need? You can say, so let's just do it basically. All right. Then the next thing we are going to create is I'll have to duplicate this and create. Remember, I'm calling class, right? And in this my class, which table or class do I want to reference? Remember, it's a meaning to one. Hmm? You understand? So it's a meaning to one. So I'm trying to reference to a model called class dot model. I can use the name. So in convention, what I mean by convention is that every framework has a convention of development. You can't just be doing your own thing except you're a professional. But the convention is that whenever you are creating a model or a class, always use a dot notation and then or you just put, maybe for example you say my underscore class dot model, or you can say my dot class dot model. These are the conventions so that whenever the Odoo framework or the Odoo application, whenever it's being rendered or installed, the system knows exactly that this is what you are trying to do. So in my own case, I'll call it class model. Then because I'm trying to reference this, recall that I'm trying to create a new class. And that new class will be called class. Class dot model. This other one will be school dot model so that we'll be on the same track. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to reference this guy because this guy will be referencing this class. So I'm going to create this class called class.model inside this place. And this class will be, sorry for that, this class will be number of maximum number of people that want inside this class will be underscore. Recall I'm using underscore for anything I'm doing. There is no need giving space. Python does not recognize space, right? So maximum number of people inside this class is going to be what? Integer. This is how to write integer in Odoo. Of course, you know integer is like this, the real spelling in English language, but Odoo, this is how you write it. Hmm? The name of this class, string. The head teacher, head teacher phone number. Just in case you want to make a contact, is a teacher, and then the head teacher name. So this head teacher is a name. So when you are programming, always think of what's this name. You don't want to just type it. I want it to come from a table called teacher. So now I just wanted one teacher, not many teachers. It's only one teacher for one class. Remember, this is where many to one plays a role. Because you'll be able to select list of teachers that are already existing on one database called teacher, and then you display only one. You're going to render select only one. You get me? That's multi-select. So now you now put another one called um, what do we call prefects? Class prefects, right? So this class prefect will also be a many to one because it's going to be talking to. Remember, this teacher is a many to one, and then this teacher will be coming from a teacher class, while this one will be coming from a class prefect class. So instead of class prefect, I'll do it student. You get? So now you see my tables are trying to grow. I've not started writing code though. I'm actually trying to do kind of like arrange what I want to do so that it will be simpler for me, right? And then I'll know the direction I'm going. So it's just like you are trying to prepare. But of course, if you're familiar with what I'm doing, you know that I'm actually writing the code. So, but now the reason you see me putting all these things here is to define the type of field that I wanted this to be, and then the class it is referencing to. I'll use it later on. Then I might not need this, I might not need this, I might not need this, I might not need that. So I'm done. Now let us create other two classes. Remember, this first one is teacher the class, or I said the other time that we're going to be doing it model. So this one is teacher dot model. This one is students dot model. So this should be changed to model, change to model, and then to remove this. So what are the properties I wanted to add in the model, in the teacher model? Hmm? So what else do I need? In the teacher model, I really needed their phone number. I have to come collect phone here. I only needed their phone number. Hmm? Then I needed his email address. So anytime I want to get information about this teacher, I will be able to go. Now, there is what we call subjects he handles. So this subject can be many subjects, right? So what would I still do? You know, a teacher can handle three or more subjects. So I'll now use many to many. So you see the functionality of many to many because you can be able, as a teacher, you can be able to take many courses. So I can call it subjects underscore IDs. So this is convention for actually trying to get many records. So now this is just few, and then students. Students will have what? Class, right? And I have class model here. Class dot model. So I'll be pausing after this for us to know if yeah whatever I'm teaching right now is syncing, and I'll come back later on. So welcome back, and then we've structured how we wanted our system to be, and then so Recall that we have our teacher model, student model, and then courses. I have to also put courses subjects, right? Then I also have this subject is calling subjects. Remember, I've not defined subject model, right? So, and then this particular field will be referencing also subjects fields. So this is more like courses. I can change the name later on. And then here, there's need for us to have, after having subjects, having this. So what else can we put for the student? Class. Hmm? So here I'll change this to class underscore ID. So it's going to talk to class model. Remember I have class model. Hmm? So anytime I click on this field, it's going to show me list of all the records that are inside class model. Hmm? So this is what I'm trying to do. So whenever it shows me, so please I'll have to remove all these so we don't get confused. Or you can rename it. Hmm. All right. So this is basic. You can add many fields. So here, let me also show you that we can add many fields. You can put many to one called not many to one. We can say dates. So this field type is dates, and we can call the name of the field dates of birth. Sorry. So it's not going to be a string. It's a dates field type. We can also have student phone. Of course, we know that most schools they have phones. Most students have phones. And then I think this is basic. So whatever that we think of or we thought of, we're going to add them. All right. So now let's do the basic thing. Let's start doing our application. So permit me to duplicate this. I'm trying to share this screen. So permit me to, I just duplicated this screen. So the first screen is to just like a board to show us what we are doing here. And then I will just start creating each of these classes in their respective folders, in respective files. So for instance, I'm going to shut this down. You can see school, which is the first one. So I'll now come here, right? So there are things that the first line of Odoo, you must first of all import the main Odoo frame, Odoo library, right? So this is it. From Odoo, this is how to import other libraries or other modules or other functionalities you really want to bring. If you are familiar with Python, you will understand that you want to call other functionalities you wanted or other classes. You don't need to start redefining it because you're not the developer of Odoo. Odoo is a framework, meaning that it's many things has been created for you, and then you just need to know how to use it. Hmm? So the same thing with Python, using Python modules or libraries. So things have been done, like maths, for example, you want to say import from maths. Remember this import square roots, right? Or import sign. You want to use this, right? So this same way, math is a library, and then there are functions or method you want to use. So here I want to say in Odoo import from Odoo import models. So I want to use a class of model. I want to use fields. Hmm? I want to use, so you can decide to say from Odoo import this. So anything. Do you get? But I want to just limit it to this because of time complexity and space complexity and performance. So I really wanted the ones I needed. I know what I wanted. So if there is anything, for example, I want to add API, I want to add translation, I can put a whole lot of this. You get? So but these are the basic ones I needed. Then I also needed dates. And I'll say from date time, this one is not Odoo, this is Python. Remember that when you are installing Odoo, it also installs you all Python libraries or Python itself, and then Python comes with a lot of libraries. So I'm actually going to start using this from date time imports, dates, time, and dates. So I might not be using this for, I'm just trying to show you something. So basically, I'm using this format import sign to show you that I wanted to, this is how the Odoo one is being done. So you have to define the things you needed for that particular file you are creating. So for you to start working. So basically from this number 5, I have to give one space. It's not must, but according to Python, if you're using pep8, you must give space after you define your importations. So here I will start by creating my class. The first class is called school. So I'll create my class as school model. Then remember I have a model called important models. I'll take it. So I'll put model class. This is what we call inheritance, class inheritance. Hmm? So if you go deep down, you know a lot of terminologies they use about class inheritance. You can research that. So I'm trying to bring in models. And then there is also a particular class I'm looking for inside this model called model. So I've inherited this class. So what am I trying to do? I wanted to bring in the class of this model and then use it inside my own that I'm trying to create. And just put it this way. Put enter here. So inside here, I'll first of all add a convention. This is a framework. Whenever Odoo sees this underscore name, take note of this underscore name. Odoo is automatically telling Odoo that you are trying to create a database model for this class. So you now call it, remember, school dot model. This is the way it's going to be like. These names that we are defining here, right? So you just paste it here. Hmm? So you, next line will be, there is what we call underscore description. This is just telling any user, anybody that is coming to the code, that this class just explaining something. Remember, if you have this kind of quotes, you actually um, you can put anything space or whatever, but you don't do it inside this underscore name. But for this description, you can put space and then explain this is a table for holding what? Schools, right? Now, after this whole thing, there are other things, but I will not go into that. For example, I want to say order by order. Let's say, for example, the records. I want the records to be coming in ascending order based on the ID. I'll now say something like this, or maybe I'll say something like this. I don't know if you. So you're actually telling the system to order your records based on, you get, order of ascension or descension or whatever. So descending order and then ascending order. So any new record you created, it should be the one at the top. If you don't want it, any record you created, it should be the one down, down, down. You get. So this is just what this does. And then there are other ones. So most times, all the one you define here that Odoo uses, you put underscore. So you can feel free to browse many of them, right? But there are other the main. These are the main class properties. But the ones you define here, after defining the class properties, give a space. Hmm? Is a convention. Remember, I told you conventions is what Odoo wanted, how they wanted you to code your applications. You get. So now remember, I have name, address. I'll start bringing these things that I defined here. I structured here inside my application. So now the first one is name. This is how to create a name. Remember, I imported field. So I will now say fields dot, because there is a framework or a library. If you are used to Django framework, this is the way they do their own thing. So they've defined fields type. Hello, they define field types and then their properties. So you don't really need to start defining, creating field classes or defining, building your own fields. So though I've made everything simple for you to just bring in fields, and then what are you calling? You now use dot. Depending on the dot, there are some method called char, right? Fields dot char, fields dot address. This one is for address. Remember, you don't do something like address like this. Okay, I'll come to that. The other one is phone. For example, you can't say phone number. You can't do this. So for any space, if there is any need for you to put space, put underscore. That's Python. That's Pythonic. Put underscore. Don't just put space. The only place you are allowed to put space is when you are doing a string operation like this, but not for this underscore name. Then what else again? Email. What else again? Classes. So remember, I've not defined the attributes of this my fields. What else again? Date of creation. What else again? Nothing. So I'll have to remove this. So now this date of creation is dates. So these are the field types in Odoo. Dates. The other one is many to one. Remember this. So talking to class model. So whenever you are defining many to one, fields dot many to one, the first thing that comes in here is the co-model. You can put it this way, or you don't even need, but just know that the first thing that comes here whenever you're defining your many to one is this, the class name. That's going to be the first thing coming. You now put a space. So I have to structure this very well. Comma. What next? The string. So this string is more like the label. So you see this one, I will not call it classes. You remember that customer when I was trying to say on sales order, I was showing customer field like this. This is the customer. Remember here, I told you that the label, you can change it to anything. But what matters is the technical name, which is partner underscore ID. So this is more, and then you can see customer instead of partner underscore ID. So this is the way Odoo does string and labeling. They call it string, right? So that's the attribute. And then the next one is required. Remember, I told you I talked about required. So you either say true or false. So in my case, I'll say true. And I'll say the next one is read only. So of course, if I'm trying to do required, then my read only should be false. Then there is other attributes that you might like to add, like domain. Remember, I talked about domain, and then context, but I'll come to that. So or size, but you normally use size when you are dealing with char like string. So I'll not use it here. So the next I'll try to show is email. Okay, here I'll use my size. Now my string can be email, right? My first string is email. So do you want this email field to be required? Say true. Do you want it to be read only? No. So basically when you are saying that something is required, of course it's not going to be read only. You get? Now phone number. You want it to be the string or the label is phone. The it is required true. Remember, true or false only. So with a capital letter, which is Pythonic, and then address, of course, let's also have the same thing. So we are not going to make our address required, but feel free to make it required if you want. So then change your string to address. All right. So you see the I could decide to just put it here and then make it be on a one liner. I'm just trying to my to go according to convention. So, but for you to understand what I'm doing. All right. So you see the structure of the things I'm doing. So date of birth, date of creation is not required. String is dates of, so you can see I'm adding space creation, and then is false. So now there's another thing you need to know about dates. You can put pass in a default of the current date. So this is where my, so Odoo has this default way of saying date dot today. All right. So else you can use the normal Python dates time object. So you can see this, right? Default. This is another attribute that comes in. So you can also say default here. For example, default email, default phone number, default address. Then I also put name, string. What's this going to be like? Sorry, a small letter. So we say string um, name of school. All right. So what else do we want to add here? Nothing. So we've defined our class for school. This is just what we needed. All right. So here we click on this, copy this, we find our what next class is model. We paste the same thing here and then start defining our school. Sorry. All right, class. So I just copied and pasted it here. Of course, you can still decide to leave your importations here. All right. So what are the objects? So this one is for holding classes. Then this one is for holding teacher, head teacher phone. My recording is still active. Head teacher phone. So here I will have manage maximum number of pupil, which is integer. I have name, which is string name. I'll just call it name, and then I'll call head teacher phone teacher, and then I'll call what is the head teacher. So I'll have to put it somewhere around here. Is a minute to one field. So I'm going to take off this, put this. So I have class prefix, also a minute to one. And then so here will be student dot model. That's my class prefix. I'll say prefix. This is the class required by default. And then head teacher. This will be my teacher class, and then call it head teacher in my string, and then I will hold it. It's true or false. You can decide anyone here. Then the email, there's nothing like email. So these are just the fields that I have here. One, two, three, four, five. So just these fields. Then the next one is my teacher model. So I have to also take this, copy this whole code, and then go to my teacher model. Of course, you have to define all those models because you have been referencing. I'm referencing it in other classes, other files. So in my teacher, I have to come here, change it to teacher. Remember the attribute I have or teacher, and then teacher model classes for holding teacher. So teacher model, teacher. We have a name, we have phone, we have email. So I'll have to copy this, call it email, change the string to email, and then go through the head teacher. Nothing subjects, of course. So have I defined subjects? No. So in my case, this should be subject dot model, and then here will be my subject underscore IDs. All right, this is it. So there is no other thing. I have to remove this, and then so this is my teachers. You get. So now remember, I am talking to just I'm calling subjects in the 1 minute to one. So always make sure that all the fields that all the references to other classes, you make sure that the models are being created. All right. So I'll now go to my. What I'll do is open this to see if I have subjects. So I don't have subjects. So I'll create a new file. I'll duplicate one, call it subjects.py, and then I'll open this to add this component. So I'll change this to subjects. So this table for holding subjects, and then what is my subject? I think we need subject. Well, basically, subject is supposed to be name, um, kind of like year of study. Well, maybe this might not be necessary. Um, email, no. So basically, subject is going to be just name. So the only attribute we can think of right now is name. Hmm? Okay, so we can talk about duration of study, duration of study, duration of study of a particular subject is um, going to be integer, not float. So this is the way to write integer, right? I'll now come here and say course duration. You can see I'm changing the string or the label to something else, course duration. I can change the name of course name. So you see the difference between the technical name and then the label name. So what the system or the code recognize is the technical name and not the label name. All right, so I define the next class I'm going to define is my students. So I'll still copy this, go down to my student model, and then change them to students, students, and then students. So what do I have in student? I have name, date of birth. So let me look for where I've defined dates field and then reuse it. So I'll have to copy this one, student name, this one actually needed, and then this. Okay, so going back to my students, going to take off all these and then paste it here. So this is my student. So this is my student. So make sure everything corresponds to what we have here. Name of student, date of birth. I'll change this date to date of birth. So it will be date of birth. So you can put today, all right? And then phone, email, we have them, and then subjects. So that is just what we are missing here. So let's take one of the minute to one field and then change it to a subject to my students. So this is the job subject this student is applicable that I've applied for. So I'll call it subject dot model and then call this subject, then call this subjects, let's call IDs, of course. So this is just my application. All right. So if I run this application the way it is right now, it might not really work, but I can install it. All right. So now I'm done creating all my classes. Then, so now we need to see the importance of this init.py inside each model. For example, I have one init.py here. There is also need for you to have an initialization file inside the models that contain these files. So if I open one of them, what do I need to do here? So I need to just import it here. That way, this Python file will actually know that I'm trying to import um, my applications. So basically, the way to do this is to put by default teacher. You can also import class. You can also import, or if you don't want to do it in one liner, you just do it this way to simplify, to be clear. To be clear. So remember, I have students. I have, so these are the files. I have classes. Remember, I have class. I have. So now I'm going to change this my class because Python. These are the keywords of Python. So I don't advise you use any Python keywords. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to rename this file so that I don't go against Odoo's convention or rules. So I'm going to change this my class to classes. All right, so that we don't end up going against Odoo rules. So here I'm going to change it to classes. I'm changing this to subjects, and then what other class do I have? School. So there's also something to be very aware of here. I will have to put this school as the first because every other thing might need it. Okay, let me use it as the last. So this is more like trying to do dependency. So we have teacher. Let's just add it here and then see what happens. Maybe order of dependency. So we have our initialization file containing our files. All right. So whenever I install this module, the system is going to take in all these things and then install them accordingly. So we are going to install this module and try to see what is going to happen. But before then, I have to define, I'm not even done. I have to define my security. All right. So how do I do my security? So in my security file, remember, I have to change this, rename this, just call it security.xml. So if I open this security, I will have to change some certain things. I won't talk about record rule. So I'm going to change a lot of things. Feel free to learn about XML and then Odoo. This is just for Odoo. So the first thing I'll have to create, let me not disorganize you. I have to first of all create the module category. So here there is a model called IR module category. This is more like how to categorize security components. So here I'll call it module underscore. Remember my module is called Odoo beginner beginner tutorial. So I'm going to use exactly tutorial the way my this is being structured. So I call the name Odoo tutorial, right? So making it so whenever you see sequence, I'm actually trying to. So this is what I mean. So whenever I have my okay, let me just leave it. So if you go to systems settings, for each user's security role, this is order of appearance. So for example, here you see, so this is the order of sequencing. This is sequence one, for example, sequence two, three, four, five, six, seven, depending on. So these are the categories. So this is category one, two, three, four, okay, four, five, six, seven. So whichever one that falls in between 17, system will now add it there. So if I'm using 17, In my case, I will be using 90, so that whichever way it falls into. So then I'll now create just one security role or two security role. One of these security roles I'm going to create is this. So this is how to create records in Odoo. First thing I'll say Odoo tutorial user. So this is just the user. All right. It's going into, I'm trying to create a model in res.groups. So res.groups model is where groups are being registered. So whenever roles you are creating on Odoo, whenever I talk about role, know that I'm talking about groups. Or if I'm talking about groups, know that I'm talking about roles. All right, user roles. So this first one is for user. And then the category I'm referencing is this. I'm referencing this category. So I paste this here. So then, so the way to reference a certain XML ID is to use the module name and then dot the XML ID. This is the XML ID. So I'm referencing this guy by calling the module name and then dot the XML ID. And then I'll come here to say this group, this particular row is implied to all groups in Odoo. So, I mean, sorry, all the user groups, for example, any normal user, this internal user. So that is actually, so if you want to find how to get group users in Odoo in technical mode and debug mode, you go under um, groups and then select one of the groups you are looking for. For example, I'm looking for point of sales administrator. I'll come here, click on this debug mode, view metadata. Then I'll copy this. So this is the technical or XML ID for the group. For example, I want to add um, this group to this also. So this is how to do that. So you can decide to put more ref here and then add your own new group that you wanted. So this way the system will be like this. So I'm adding, making sure that this implies to means that every user that has this particular group must also have this Odoo tutorial group, user group. So this is just what I'm actually doing. So you can add more groups here. So if I come here, I'll create one other group called manager. So this manager is responsible to maybe do some configurations and then add more tutorials in this our new course. So here I will come in here to say this is for manager. Of course, the category, I'm still going to use this category. Then there is a group in Odoo called admin. So what I want to do is that every person in this row called group system is called group system. You can also verify from what I showed right now. So you can also come back here to search for administrator. So once you come to search admin settings, let's look for read settings. This is the core Odoo user. So you can see view metadata. So you can see base underscore group system. So you can copy that XML ID and then paste it here. Of course, we are correct. So this is just how to create a group in Odoo. So aside this creating of groups, we also need to define the record access rights. So we have about 5 models. We need to define access rights for each of these 5 models. So without this, the system will not allow you to view anything. So in my case, I will have to change all this and then create my own access rights. So recall that the name of my module is Odoo Beginners Tutorial. So I'll have to use this name of my module, sorry, to customize this. But in a nutshell, I want to customize based on each and every of my classes that I have here: school, teacher, classes, students, and then. So first thing, I'll have to create schools, access rights, The other one should be school. So I'll also come to show you this. So what I'm trying to do here is to define access rights for each of my models. So in this case, you can decide to put um, here, you put the name of, I'm trying to get this security, this user. I'm trying to make anybody that has access to user to be able to, I will say dot this, right? The module name dot the user. I want them, anybody that has access to this class to be able to only have read access, create access, write, sorry, read access, write access, create access, and then no delete access. So that's the essence of having this 1110 whenever you're talking about access rights. So you can be able to see how the column is being structured in the CSV file. The first one, which is this, is the ID. The second one is just the name, so you can decide to put any space here. The model ID, which is the third one, you can define your own model ID here, and then the permission to write, permission to read, permission to write, permission to create, permission to unlink. So this is being done using 1111 or 1110 or 001. So basically this is how to structure the, so in case you really want to have all the users seeing this model, you can be able to, or deleting this model or whatever, you can be able to remove this and make it empty. All right, so they can be able to view all this. So in this case, I'm going to say students, and then students. So let me be sure I have my students model or student model. Okay, so let me use S here. One, and then students. Then I'll come here to say students. Then I want everybody to be able to create. For the meantime, let them be able to create and delete. So I'll come here to create another access right. Remember, teachers, teacher, and then teacher. Okay, so let me be sure what I'm doing. Then I'll also have another model called class. Remember, I still have something I'm missing, which is the subject class, class, and then class. So this is the way to define access rights. All right, so I'll have to define my subjects. All right, so there's something that you might need to understand here also. Um, when you are defining access rights, just translate your dot notation here to an underscore. So this is going to, when you come here, you don't just use dot notation. So I don't know, this is just the convention. You must have to obey by the rules. So you see, you just call it model. You have to first of all put the model under the model colon of this CSV before you call your class name. So and then the dot notation will be changed from dot subject dot model to subject underscore model. So that is what you need to know about this. So I have to remove this, and then the next thing I have to do is I'll define all my five um, models, subjects. I define all my five models. Okay, subject. So I'm good to go. So I've done basically all the things I need to do by first of all creating my model security. Then I've not created my views. So for the meantime, in the next section of this video, I'll show you guys how to create views. So, but let me show you the licensing. The manifest. So in my own case, I'll say Odoo beginners tutorial. The name of my module. This is my manifest file. In this case, I have to close this because I'm done with it. So the name is kind of like a JSON or dictionary file that contains all your all your module information. So you can say version 0.1 sequence. I can make the sequence to be 10 category. I don't think I have any category. But I can say tutorial. I don't have any category. My website, you provide them here. If you don't have, just comment it. Summary, if you don't have, maybe manage your Odoo technical tutorial. Summary of your module, you provide your description here also, and then we are good to go. So my description ends here. So you can provide a whole lot of descriptions. So I have to structure this very well. And then depends. I'm depending on the base module. And then the base module is the core Odoo module. Then your data is where you provide all your XML files. So in this case, I'm going to take it out because I've not been able to provide my XML for this. Then you provide every XML both in your security and then your views also. So the demo, if you have any demo file, provide it here. So is your application installable? Is it an application? Can provide true or false. So this is just basic thing that you need to put in your manifest file, and then boom. So let me try and see if this module is going to be installed. I'm so sure the module is going to, let me see the init.py that is here. It's just model. So you can see the second layer, the first layer of this init.py should only contain this model, because this model is the only folder that contains .py file. So I'm going to define to tell the system or to tell Python that I still have a .py file inside models. So from models, and then I can be able to pull it out. So let us also go to static. So in my static, I have few files. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove these. So for example, if I have, I'm going to still use this. Sorry about that. So make sure you have your icon, and the name of your icon should be icon.png. So that way the system will recognize that when you're trying to, your module will have an icon. All right. So let it be inside the description folder under static. And then, so for these ones, I may not be able to use them. And then, so it's only view. I'll talk about view after this section. Let us go and see if our module is going to be installed. So thank you. I'll come back to restart. Let me go to my module apps. So when you go to apps, click on this update app lists. But before then, let's see if we can see our module tutorial. Wow, nothing. Tutorial, nothing. All right, so let's update this and see what happens. So updating app list, system is going to update to make sure that new modules are being synced in. So tutorial, boom. You see, we have our module. So when you go to module info, we see all the things we've done, and then you can see the icon. Of course, I'm using the fleet module icon, so I know I have to change my licensing. This is Odoo module. It's just for demonstration purpose. You can see the dependencies. I have base here. and then every other thing. So you click on install, and then you're good to go. So let me change. If I come here to change some of these informations, for example, author, come to say author. I'll come here to say Maduka Sopolo. Of course, I have to see it reflecting as Maduka Sopolo instead of Odoo SA. Instead of this, by so that's what author does. All right, so um, website, of course, is empty. Category empty. Summary, what I just provided. There's no license, the fashion, and then nothing else. So when I install this module, this is our module. When I install it, we are good to go. All right. So the next version is trying to do the views for our school management and how to create menus of this module. All right. So welcome back. The last section I showed you guys. Let us quickly recap what we've done so far to be able to get us back to speed in what we are doing. Of course, right now I'm having some errors, but let's see. Of course, you know the normal. Let's see what's wrong. Why we're having this unexpected decline expansion plan. Why we're having this, why we're having this. This is not supposed to be. Let us still recap what is it. Was not closed. This was closed. This was closed. Hmm. Although this is working, I already know it was not closed. I think my finance is not actually working correctly. So let's see what's happening. Summary, copy this, Control C. Okay, let's see. What might be the problem to this? All right, so that's fine. So I may want to remove this website, but feel free to add them. So now you can see I commented some of my data files, like XML files. So what I was trying to show you last time is how we were able to create a security file where we define how this is how to create records in Odoo, a particular table in Odoo. So but this is how to create a security file. So here you create your model, you define the XML ID, and then this XML ID is more like a unique ID of this particular record that we're seeing. So this record, there are some attributes that is required, and then we provided it, and then this is how to create. So this implied underscore IDs is a one-to-many field inside groups. So let us be having a deep insight of what I'm trying to explain. So if you go to groups, under settings, make sure you're on debug mode, and then you go to groups and click one of these groups. You now see this implied IDs. Think it's somewhere here. Applies to, applies to. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, trying to see where this implies to. Precise. Okay, let me go, let me go, let me go. This is users. I've forgotten this, but so basically, what this is trying to say is that whatever user that belongs to this particular few ones I've referenced here is going to any user that belongs to this group is going to have this. That is what I'm actually trying to say here. So the category is this category that I defined here, which is the first one. So all these two records are under this category. So whenever you define category field and then you provide an XML ID of maybe this or any other one, it's going to come under this module is going to come under this. So take for instance, when you come under users and settings, you come under a particular user. So you see, for example, If my category is manufacturing, the system is going to these two fields or whatever that I'm creating here will come under manufacturing. So that is what I'm talking about here. So, but in my own case, it's going to come under Odoo tutorial. Sorry. And this is just the way to define your security view. Then there is what they call access rights. So for any user to access your models or your classes or objects, you must have to define each and every created access rights this way. So first line should be your ID, which is this. The second one is your name of your access right. The third one is the model ID, which is the model. Recall I said the model should start with model underscore school, and then you replace the dot with underscore and then model. So this first prefix is the model, that's a compulsory convention, and then followed by your school model. For example, we have our school model here. So you can see what our school model is. School.model. Take for instance, you have it as school.class. All right. So I'll turn this dot class to school underscore class. That's school underscore class. All right. So in this case, it's just school underscore model. So meaning here is my school underscore model. So just changing this dot notation to underscore and then make this to be model. This is the prefix and then change everything to underscore. So that is it for this third column called model ID. The next column is the group ID. So this group ID is, for example, I want all the users that are, this group ID is which user do you really want to define this particular access right for. So for this particular line, I'm talking to school model and I want the user that has this Odoo tutorial user to be able to read, write, create, and then not be able to delete. That is just the that is just it here. Read, write, create, and then unlink, which meaning delete. So that way you can be able to define different access right for your different users based on the different user role they have. So you can see I define for school, I define for class, I define for teacher, class, and then subjects. So you see, so I also said when you provide make this empty, the system will allow every user to have access to it. So in this case, I want to also add every user that has an internal user. For example, by default, any user in the system is an internal user. So this is the group for internal user in Odoo. Any person that logs into the system automatically has a group called internal user. So this is the technique XML ID. So I can provide it here, meaning that any user or any internal user must have access to create, read, and write and delete subject model. But though this is not right at all right. So I can decide to create another one for this student and then say that the base user, I mean the internal user, which is this, will not be able to delete. But I'll go here, copy my manager. I have to change this to manager. Sorry, you can see two of them are having the same XML ID, which is not proper. You don't have two XML ID in the same file. So I'll change this to manager and then copy this back here and say once first of all you have to reference the module name dot the technical or XML ID of that file. So you see, of that record, sorry. So I want the tutorial managers to be able to delete. So you see the difference between this and this. So one thing you need to change to avoid conflict is you can see I have these two referencing each other. So this one will be for user, while this should be for manager. Then I can change the name. So this doesn't really matter, but for you to have unique names, just change them. So that is it on how to create technical rights for users. So next thing I will try to do is how to create views for each and every of our models. views, creating views for each and every models we have. So in this case, we are trying to also create views for each and every tables we have, hmm? Each and every class. So the way to create views in Odoo is actually, I'm going to copy one of these things I have. So let me see if it's fine for me to use. So there are some things I'll be going little by little to create views. So recall that we have a view file. We are going to save our views inside the folder called views, right? So this is going to go off. I'm going to create the first one, school underscore view. So this is the convention, school underscore view dot xml is an XML extension. So here we need to change these things, but I'll go through each and every one of them one by one. So just take this. Let me quickly arrange this. I'll come back and then explain to you what I'm doing. So let's say here the first record ID should be school underscore view dot id. Then the name, you can put any name. This is school tree view. So I'm first of all trying to create a tree view. So feel free to just copy this whole thing and then start with time you will get to understand what each and every one of these things are doing. You get. So the model, we copy the model. This is the model name. Copy the model, position it here. Then every other thing can be fine here. Then here the tree string, can call it. You can call it school school. Then next thing is putting the fields, each and every fields here that you have here inside your. So this case, I'll have to duplicate my screen so that we can be able to see what I'm doing. So you can recall that we have name. So we put name, field name is equal to name. The second one is address. Field address is what it is. So what I'm actually developing here is this view. Remember I told you about this view, and then so this is what Kaban view. This is list view. All right. So this is what I'm actually trying to develop. So the way to do it is what I'm actually doing here. So you provide the fields that you wanted to display first thing on those headers. You can see. So for example, I want just three fields out of all the fields I have in my model. I'll just have phone number, address, and then email. These are just the few fields that I really wanted here. So every other one, date of creation, if you want it, you add them here. So these are the display headers. So you can see I did not provide class IDs because all I need is just the column headers. All right. So I can remove this. So of course, this is how to do commenting in XML. The way you do commenting in Python is different from the way you do commenting in XML. So this is how to do commenting. You can say tree view for, all right, for what? And now say tree view for school model. So this is how to just once you put this comment, you now put whatever you want inside it and then close it with this. So that's how to do that. So now let's go to the next one, which is the form view. The form view is quite or pretty much similar, but except for the fact that I'm going to copy the school model. Let me change this to school model. I'm going to copy my school model and then change wherever I want to change this because this is form view, school model form view. Then of course the name is, you can decide to change your name or maybe leave it the way I'm leaving it. So you can put your model here and then remember it's going to be dot model. All right. Then here is cool. Then of course, so recall that in tree view, here, this is how your structure is. You provide your fields here. So in my own case, I'll have to copy some of my fields here and then put them under my form view. The only difference with this form view is that Odoo itself has a way or a kind of like a class system a class that organizes things for you. So you can see here, I have a sheet. You see this sheet? Every other thing inside this sheet. So this is how it looks like. When I click on one of these form view, this whole thing is a sheet, right? So if I don't provide this header called sheet, right, and then just provide those form groups and then fields, the system is going to remove this sheet and then mark all these fields directly here behind this. So the sheet is just making it look so sweet. It looks like a paper, right? Cool. So the fields, the group, you can see here is the group on your left, and here is the group on your right, right? So this is what Odoo is doing. So you see this first group inside this group tag. This first group will be the one on the right, on the left, while this is the one on the right. So whatever field you have inside this first group will be positioned here, while the one on the right, all the fields will be positioned here. So that's what I'm trying to show right now. So remember, I copied my fields. So this same field, ensure you provide the same or exact fields that you have inside this your class. So you can decide to just structure it well to make it look good. Maybe copy this one out and then, sorry, maybe copy this one and then paste it in the left group, right? So this one is in the right group, all these ones here in the left group, while these ones are in the right group. So in when I render this or install this, you see name, address, and phone number on the left, while these ones on the right. Cool. Now there's what we call notebook. Inside notebook, there is a page, and then you can have your fields. So normally notebooks are used to render many to many and one to many. It's good to use them. So how does a notebook look like? This is a notebook, right? Whatever here is a notebook, and these are the pages inside it. So if you have multiple pages, you define them. So how do we define a table? So I'll first of all have to remove this. So I can have 4 pages, right? One, two, three. Inside my notebook, one can be page one, one can be page two. So it's normally used to organize your fields also. All right. So, but it's basically used to have add what's it call it again? Basically used to add what's maybe notebook many to one, many to many, and then one to many. Sorry about that. So I have to remove this. Then inside your page, you can now define your fields. So please remember I have a field called class IDs, right? Inside there is a field name called class IDs. This is a one to many. Oh, sorry, I don't really have any many to one or one to many. So I might not have any. Okay, so this is going to be, sorry about that. This is going to be um a many to many. I don't know why I forgot that. This is supposed to be a many to many. So now this is how to define a many to many. You can see other fields has a closing tag. Why this one called class ID does not have a closing tag? It opens without a closing tag like this, and then you can now have a side class models. Recall that class models we have. Let's open class models. We have other fields here. So whenever you open a many to one field in XML, you must put a tree. Hmm? This tree, you now start defining the fields inside the class model, not the one in this your school model. So that's why I'll have to provide the fields I want to be see, that I want to see, especially those ones that are required, so that whenever they display, I will see them such as this. Let's go and then see a very good example of this. So this is it. You see, these fields, description, product, quantity, are the fields inside the model called sales order line, not the fields inside sale order. You get? So I'm going to describe all these fields inside this opened field. You can see where I closed it, right? So this is the way to do many to many and then one to many in Odoo XML. So you define all the necessary fields you wanted to display just for visibility sake, and then the class prefix in case. All right. So instead of calling my pay string this, I'll call it classes, right? And then I don't have any need, but I just showed you this for an example and save this. Then I'm done with my class, right? So the next one is the search view. So what do I mean by the search view? Remember, I've done the tree view, the form view, and then I'm going to do the search view. The search view is the search filter. Whenever you go to any lists like this, you should be able to see this. So you need to define what you wanted to be able to see whenever, maybe for example, you am typing what I want to type with. So the way to define a search view is also the way you define your model and your tree view. So coming here, I'll change this to my school model, change this, see, then the model is why it's important to be like this. You can remember I'm working on my school model, right? Right? And then I'll change this to school model, schools or so, right? And then what do I want? Remember my school model, what do I want when the user is typing? I should be able to search with it. I needed name, email, email, and in case I really wanted phone number, then you can be able to search phone using phone number. That's what I'm trying to do. So this is how to do search operation in search view in so basically data operation you can use these, but so this is how to, so you can use address. So make sure you provide the properties of that class, right? So that's how to do a search view. Then the next thing after your list view, your form view, and then your search view is your action. You can see all these things are different, right? So what am I going to create is going into a model called this. Remember, I'm still working on school underscore model, and then here school dot model, please use dot here, and then the name I just call it school action, or you call it schools. So because this name you provided here is what is going to be visible whenever you create this, you see this quotation, right? See this quotation, so that is what that action displays as. That's the name. So domain is kind of like what records do you really want to see. So you can now apply your own domain. And in my case, if I have a field called name, for example, I will now say I want to see all the ones that name is equal to. So this is how to customize domain in your menu. So you can now decide what you really wanted. I want to see all the ones that the name is equal to. is not equal to false. So all the records that doesn't have a name should not be displayed. Do you get? So that's how to develop a domain. And then you can now say and, using and is providing comma and then add another tuple to say and the address or phone number is not equal to. This is how to say not equal to. We are familiar with this in Python. Equal to false. So my domain, anytime anybody clicks on this action is what I'm going to use as my menu. Anytime someone clicks on this action called schools, right, it's going to show me all the records that have a name and then have a phone number. Anyone that does not have a name and phone number should not be displayed to me. Do you get? So this is what domain does. Then context. Uh, so I'll not talk about context right now. So, but the way to do context is like you're trying to provide a predefined value. Immediately you click on this create portion of this school. For example, you want anytime a create is being done, you really want to set this date of creation to today's date. So, or you can pass a certain context from somewhere down to this. So you can now provide this OE, this something like just a name to say create schools, right? Now, now the next one is I'm going to delete all these ones. Then the next thing to create is a menu. See, please take note of menu. Menu, I'll have to close this. I'm done. Menu. So menu inherits the action that you created, right? So this menu, I'll come to that. So in my own menu, the first is, of course, I don't really want to put this my school inside any of this menu, or is an application of its own. So I really want it to come out as this. When I install this, to come out as either of these icons. So I'll now is a standalone module or application. So I'll come here and say the name of this is school underscore model underscore menu. That's the parent menu. I can decide to say parent menu, right? Call it any name. And then what name do you want to see whenever? So this name attribute is these names that you are seeing here, employees. You now call it school tutorial, right? Then the parents. So because I'm is a standalone module, I'm not referencing it to anything. You just remove the parent, and then sequence order of appearance. For example, here 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 to be appear somewhere here. Or if something is taken over 4 before, the system will not override. It will now go to the next one, which is 5 or 6. So then, what else? I'm not going to put any action in this menu. So now the next one is I want this my menu. Whenever I click on this, for example, if I click on this first one, I should see something like this. And inside this, I can be able to now select a drop down and then see something else. So here, I will now say sub menu one, for example, or maybe sub menu of schools, can be schools. I can say management. The parent is this. I have to take this to make it his parent because this is really under this one main parent. So the parent is this. All right. So the action, I don't want any action also here, or I can just say I want this whenever you click on this school tutorial menu, it's going to call this action. This action will open up the tree and the form view. That's what I'm doing. And then I'll put the action inside here. Right? So the sequence is one. So The next one is this. I'm going to make this to come inside this. So this submenu call management should be under parent menu, and I'll call it, okay, I'll call this management MGT. Put this inside this parent, and then the action should also be this. So if you are defining action for students, you keep creating menus for students and the rest of them down. So and then that's just what you need. So going to install this module. So the way reason I have to structure this way is for it to look like a tree node, so that you understand that all these are actually under this main menu item. So let us see if we can install our module by first of all restarting our server, depending on the server you're working on, the Odoo server you're working on. You restart it, and then so how do you get to your restarting system? So you come here, you click on your Windows. If you're using Windows, for example, this is applicable to Windows. You click on Shift, you click on Menu button, and then X. I repeat, click on Menu button and then X, and then you click on Run. Type in services.msc. Click OK. So the system is going to pop out these services. So you locate your Odoo server, either version 12, version 13, and then restart. Or you start the service if it's not running. So once this is being restarted, I'll go back to my apps, under apps, and then of course you see some kind of like a slowness, because the system is actually trying to build up after your restart. Okay, so coming up. So might be pausing my video for some time. I don't really know why this is taking longer. All right, so back to my Odoo apps. Recall, if you search your module, you couldn't see your module, you will use the update app list and then update this. So the system is going to come up, your module is going to come up. So you search tutorial, you can see my application rendered properly. So now the next thing is for me to install this. All right. So I'll click on install. But mind you, recall that we did not do our test. Really, you can, maybe if you're a developer, you're making use of all these kits, you should be able to have everything structured well, at least code reviews, and then make sure that everything is working in line. But if you set up your testing tool, you should be able to have these errors on your log before you keep installing. Then that way it's gonna limit your bugs. So let's just review what we've done before we click on install, because debugging is a stressful thing. So we're going to go through each and every line to make sure that everything we're doing is proper. From line 5, of course, school model, name, description, order, name, char, string, and then address. Everything looks fine. Class ID is many to many. Class, the core model is class.model, which is referencing to the class model, and then everything is fine, and then. So we might decide to remove these. Date of creation, this, of course the default is today's date. I don't know why it might be fine. So now go to the next one, which is our teacher. Let's see if everything is fine. Of course, making sure at least the Python program is running fine, so that we don't run into bug. The student model, making sure everything is looking good, so that we don't keep stressing ourselves this period. And then everything looks fine. So very well structured. Then these classes, and then what else? The subjects looks good. Looks good. Integer, everything's fine. So let's go off and then go to our classes. So making sure that at least we position our commas and everything properly before we start installing. So let's go to our views to see if we are missing something. School underscore views. school underscore views. Let's see if everything is looking fine. Okay, good and good. Right. So so we've created our school views. Remember, we have two XMLs that we've created. One is the security.xml and then the school underscore view.xml. So one last thing we need to add here is the under the manifest, we need to define those XML. Remember, I have to uncomment this one and then provide it as my security XML. That's it. And then the second one is my views. Remember, the these views is inside views folder, and then the name of my file, call it school underscore view.xml. Then this again, remember I have my access rights. So this is the way to name an access right. This is the way to name an access right. ir.model.access.csv. You come here also, it's under security folder. Come in here also to add it here. So that way the system should be able to install. So yeah, let's also restart because we touched our Python file. So anytime, recall that anytime you touch your Python file, you should be able to restart your Python file. All right, so it's not applicable with XML, but whenever you touch your Python file, also make sure that you restart your server. So you can also have an auto restart mode. I don't really like using that. If you're using Ubuntu or any Linux distribution, you should have that, all right, in your terminal. So whatever changes you make on the system should be able to restart, or you can also do that manually. So let us go directly to our application and then try to install to see what we've done. Of course, you're not 100% sure about bugs. So once you click on install, be ready to see the bug. So you just allow the system to update. Loading. All right, of course, I told you a lot of bugs might come up. So here, thank you for this bug. At least we should be able to see how to debug things. So this is how to debug in Odoo. All right. So for every application you are doing, you must know how to read errors. All right. So errors are very, very intimidating and frustrating. So how do I read my error? Most times you might not be able to see down your errors down the line. You might be able to see it somewhere up. So feel free to read it, and then so errors like this I can be able to trace to say that in line 34 under my security XML file, the opening and ending file does not match. So I will have to check line 34, and then so I go to my security file, check line 34. Oh, you see? So something is wrong. So let's go up and then see what is happening. I don't have data, so I have to remove my data. It's not necessary. And then you can add it and then try to do it again. Try to install. Of course, you recall that I copied most of this from an existing module. So you don't really need to restart when you touch XML files. You will really restart when you touch your Python files, your .py file. So boom, our application is installing. Whoa, success. All right, coming up. So if you look at your logs, you can be able to see things that are installing. If there is any dependency, the system will install that also. So let's see where is our school module. Can't see my school. Can't see my school modules. Can't see my school module. So let me see, why is my school module not coming up? It's not coming up. So let's go down to access rights. So in case you install your module and then you're sure everything works fine, first thing I have to do is to look at my menu to be sure that my menu gets installed properly. I'll have to go to settings. That's how I normally debug my own stuff. Under menu items, technical menu items, ensure you're in debug mode to see technical. I'll search for my module menu name, school. Ah, it's perfectly installed and everything is looking fine. Okay, good. Yeah, so there is no access right defined on this. Let's see this. The submenu, no access right defined for my school. Under the submenus also, no access right. So that is what I was trying to explain the last time during the access right control. So let's see my access right for school. Yes, I have this as Odoo beginners tutorial. I don't have the access right for this. So the only person that is going to see this is this person. And then, so let me add one more user. This is going to be base.group underscore user, which is the internal user for school. So come here to change the ID, come here to change the name in case you really want to base user. And then, so same model, just that I added new group. So recall that if I don't want to do this, what I'll do is to go to my settings and then locate the current user I'm logged in as. And under this current user, I should be able to see the group I created. Thanks. So this is our group. Where it is? Down the line. Auto tutorial. So recall I don't have any user that is actually linking to this. So that's why I wasn't able to see this menu. But yes, let's try to see it. I give myself access to manager or user. So I should be able to, at least let me give myself self access to manager. Of course, I've not upgraded this module. So let me refresh this. I made a new change and I've not upgraded the module. So let's see if I can see my module. My menu. So under here, I think my module, my menu is going to be here. Oh, boom. Not yet. So let's go back and then look at what is wrong. I think access right is still disturbing me. So I have to upgrade. So whenever you have your module installed, just click on this three dotted icon and then upgrade. So this is going to help you. So remember I changed some things here. I really wanted my users to be able to see all this. So one thing also to do is to add these internal users to all our groups so that we could be able to at least access this system. So when this is done, you can see I have my to school tutorial. So basically, you have to also understand that because this action, once you click on this action, you first of all get to the school table. That is why I wasn't able to see because what was assigned to me was technically that this school module must be the user and then the user must. So what I did here was to add the internal user to at least first see it. So that is what I did. And then you can see. So first thing, I've created my create schools. You can see the schools, action, name, and then click on create. Boom. Wow, wow, wow. So feel free to read, study your code, and then be able to understand what I did here. The name of the school, the address, the phone number, the mail, email, and then the date of creation. Oh, lovely. Then those pages, remember I have empty pages, and then the classes. So once I click on this class, I will have this function here that will lead me to class, and I'll have to create primary, um, primary one, two. Then what is this is supposed to be the class teacher's phone number. Of course, recall that I did not structure I didn't create form view, so that's why it's scattered somehow. So I didn't create form view um, for my classes. So if I create my form view, the system will organize it well. So the class prefix, whoa, you can see no group, document of type unknown, no group currently allows this. Boom. So let's see what is our class prefect. Hmm. Our class prefect is actually not talking to a module. This is under classes. And then what is our class prefect? It's talking to student.model. Then let's see what is student.model. Oh, it's students.model. Cool. So I have to come here and change this to S. So whenever you touch this type of thing, you have to restart this Python, restart, and then upgrade so that the system will take effect. All right. So the mistake here is the S. So the system is saying unknown because he doesn't really actually know what you are trying to talk about. So you have to be very, very careful with names. So after this tutorial, what I'll have to train you guys on how to build controllers and then be able to build a website, a simple website, render things on the website, and then be able to um, call your data using a controller and then pass it and render them on your display. So this is one of the things I'll be able to show in this particular tutorial. So let's upgrade our module before we create. So let's quickly save this and before we upgrade our module. I know this is going to be messy somehow, but let me just try to save this and then come back. All right. So name of school, that's the Madoka school. So the address is behind these and then I'll save this. Hopefully, right? So let's go and upgrade our tutorial module tutorial to be able to take in or to recognize our students model field. Taking up. So basically you have to allow the system to run up this and then before you start your operation. All right, so go back to my school models. Recall that I have two managements here because I didn't change the name. That's what copy and paste can do. So what I'll do here is to come under my menu and then change this to schools, right? So if I upgrade this, it's going to come up. Then back to this. So if I click on this, I should be able to create classes. So this one good thing with Odoo ERP. So you can create multiple records in a single view. So everything is integrated. So here I'll provide this name of this class. I call it class A. And then the prefect of this class, I can say April. The phone number of this prefect can be something like this, and then the date of birth of this prefect. Because this is actually calling students class, right? This particular view I'm currently seeing right now is the student class that I opened. So that's one good thing with Odoo. You can be from where you are to another class. So this is the class. So here I'm also seeing subjects. I can create subjects. I'm now in class subject class. So here I can now say subject physics. Physics. Duration of this is 2. So this subject is supposed to be, because this is supposed to be this student is supposed to be, this subject for this student is supposed to be a many to many, right? Because it's the students, well, we have made a mistake here, so we have to go and correct it. So, but before then, let us create subjects, mathematics, and then save this. So just for the time being. So you see, but we did not provide our class teacher, which is Wale Brown, with our class teacher. Because if there are required fields, the system will automatically open these and then you provide email of your class teacher and the phone number of the class teacher. And then, sorry, I'm using this Wale Brown. Then, teacher. So I think, what's this?
Another class.
This is another class subjects. Oh, we need to change the label. So there are some corrections we need to change here. So inside the teacher, Let's see what happened here. So you see, I'm having head teacher here instead of subjects. So the string is supposed to be subjects. Subjects. Do you get? Not set teacher. So it's another class of subjects. Then I also have to go and correct the one for students. It's going to be a one, a many, too many. And then I have to restart this. For restarting this, let me save all my records so that you should be able to see it next time. So I will start this. So feel free to use this particular tutorial to do every other models or menu like the students so that whenever you come under management, you see schools, you see students, you see courses, subjects, and the rest of them. So that way you can be able to learn. But this is just a simple way to create Odoo module, Odoo application. So um, let's just restart this. Let's just refresh and upgrade. So for any dynamic changes you've done or XML changes, you have to, wow, I wanted to uninstall this. So for any change you do, you have to click on upgrade. That's if you touch your XML files. And then if you do a field change, you also need to change this. So one other thing I would like to show is to maybe for example, I want to add a button because I'll add my button inside my sheet, or maybe I provide a header here. I'll call this header, remember header string is going to be, sorry, I might not have this string. So I'll have something like this, header. So this header, I want to provide a button. So let me see if I have any button somewhere here that I can use, button. So feel free to copy and paste. So button string, the name of your string can be confirm schools. Just confirm or anything you want your button name to be like. And then name of the button should be action confirm. So this is actually going to be your Python function or method. And then you put this. And then you put the class of this. You can call it OE underscore highlight. This is the CSS class that a bootstrap CSS class that comes with Odoo. OE highlights. And then there is no other thing I might have to provide here. Maybe confirm attributes. Are you sure you want to confirm, right? So this is just the way to provide button. Then before you do this, you have to come under that particular class model you are working on and then provide the function. So this is it. So functions is coming under here because here say the action must have to provide self, then terminate that, then say raise validation error. There is no function to run, right? So this trace validation error is one of the Odoo validation tool or library. So this is the way to do that from odoo.exception. I think exceptions import this, right? I'm not really certain whether it's exception or exception. Oh, see, let's try this and then see what's going to happen. So I install, start this, great, and then I think it's auto.exceptions. Let me be very sure. Okay, yeah, it's auto.exceptions. Cool, very correct. So I just did this, and then what I'm trying to do right now is to upgrade my application. So coming to these updates, I have to upgrade my module again to be suitable. So I think we're done. We're done. We're done. This might be the last thing I'll be doing on this tutorial, so feel free to contact me if there is any other thing or questions you might want to ask me. I'll provide all my contacts on the description of this video. Thank you. Whoa. Seeing this, my header under my form is actually not working. So coming here to provide my header. Sorry, it's supposed to be here. Yeah, and then upgrade. All right, so school tutorial. Of course, I've changed this to schools. Once I click on my schools, I'm still going to see this view. If I create more records, so I can decide to duplicate this. No duplication. Create more records. Call it online schools address, something here, email, this, and then if there are classes, I provide maybe these are classes I want to be under this school, and then I save these. Of course, remember that. So I close these. So I have my schools. I can create more of these schools and call my offline schools, and then provide my address and every other thing that is necessary for my schools, and then provide my classes and save these records. So this is just fine. And then I have my three schools. So I can decide to use this method to action export. Of course, this user I'm using does not have access to delete, so there is no delete option here for you. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys. You're welcome. And then I think I've covered everything.